Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer. Welcome back to Train Sim World, CSX Heavy Haul, and we're going to pick up right where we left off. I haven't done this before, so let's see how it works out. And I don't know if we're going to be moving, if we're going to be stationary. Not sure what to expect. I don't know that they would... I mean, we're climbing a hill, so I don't know that they would necessarily have us... Okay. I don't know that they would have us stationary, so we are moving. Okay, fantastic. Here's where it was. It's there. Brakes are off. Okay, cool. Our guy is gone. I don't know how I feel about that. Right. Where are we? So distance-wise, we're probably between a quarter and a third of the way there. So that's about right. So we'll go 45 minutes tonight and see where we end up. So, right, I've got my tea, got my vape, got the insomnia. Let's see how this goes. And we're guessing they set all the switches for us. We won't need to mess with anything till we get closer to our destination. I hope so. Don't know. I guess we'll find out. Right. Okay. Well, that sucks that, what's his name split? Kind of like that guy. You know, the guy whose name I don't know. But yeah, felt like we were pals. We had a thing. We were simpatico. I'm curious if they're going to add anything along here, or if this is sort of it as far as scenery or towns or anything, if they're going to, in any of the updates or patches, if they're going to add anything along this route. And I thought there was $3,500 of DLC for Train Simulator, and I was just estimating approximately 350 DLC, approximately $10 a piece, 3,500. Closer to $7,000 of DLC. So clearly, I think we can say that Dovetail likes their DLC. So I'm curious what kind of DLC we're going to get for Train Sim World. I assume we'll get some. I mean, we already have got some. I assume we'll continue to get DLC. But I'm wondering how often and what it will look like. 1 mile. Okay, so we got this. And we'll do this. climbing again. It's fascinating to me that the grade indicator only tells you for the what do you call it? For the locomotive. The grade indicator tells you the grade where the locomotive is, but the train is poking out behind us for it's got to be hundreds and hundreds of yards, possibly a mile. I don't know, I would say close to a mile. And I know there has got to be an elaborate and complex braking procedure for trains, particularly freight trains. And I don't know it. I'm just one more thing here. Hey, you know, I'll check when we end the episode today. I'll check under realism settings, but I'm curious if, you know, Train Simulator had like an expert control level, right? Where on steam locomotives you had to control the firebox and the boiler and everything. But I'm feeling like this is, I want to say, too easy. Surely driving a train is harder than this. I know it is. So, am I braking properly? I know I'm not, but how far off am I guess is what I'm getting at. Right. So now we're really climbing. I would want to look at the back of the train more, but it takes us through that intermediate screen. I believe it's loading all the scenery for wherever the train is, which may be completely different scenery. Like the back of the train may be in a completely different area than the front. I'm not completely different, you know what I mean. I feel like that's why it has to pause. I don't know how I'm feeling about this view. I'm trying to be immersive. I can't imagine where else we'd be. I was doing this for a while, but then I got to thinking it doesn't really work unless the window's open. And I don't know that we'd have the window open and our head poking out on a day like this. So we'll stay in here. I guess we could go out here. That's thinking. And we've gone, it's 54 miles to Rockwood. I believe when we started it was at 27. So linear distance, we've gone 4 miles. Interesting. And from that angle, our frame rate, not happy. We'll hop back in here. Plus it seems, it just maybe it seems kind of chilly out there. Seems a little bit cold. I'd rather be back in here. Which is weird because I do like winter and I do like snow, but only when I'm in it. The rest of the time, not so much. So I like living in the mountains. I've been fortunate enough to have done that many times all over the American West. But to look at it when I'm not in it, it doesn't really do it for me. If that makes sense. I don't think it makes any sense. It's fine. It's fine. So I notice periodically we get 50 points, and I'm wondering what that is for. I imagine it's for like being in compliance per segment, right? So we were below the speed limit or whatever, so we got 50 points. And the next quarter mile, half mile, I don't know how they break it down. It could be by yards, it could be by miles, or every time we go through a signal, maybe, I don't know. But periodically I see 50 points appear up there. There. I feel like we're cresting a hill too. Get on here. Oh, right here. Ah, okay. Well, we seem to be coming out of the weather. It's a little clear up here. The snow's gone. Just noticed that. Okay. We have to do it now. I have to get through all 4 pieces of this scenario. I mean, there's only one piece. We're going to do it in 4 segments. We're going to break it down, is what I'm saying. So we will. I'm still here. It's just it's a fascinating game because there's so little to do, but it's still, at least for me, it's compelling. It really is. It's just, I don't know what it's like for you watching it, but for me, it's fascinating. It's hypnotic, is what it is. All right. When exactly we start ascending, and there are no place names on this map. That's something that I think I would add as a developer. Put some names or titles on there so you know sort of where you are. I mean, all we know is we're going to the end of the line, and it's, I don't know, probably another 40 miles from here, 45 miles. But I could use a little information in the meantime. There's a bump there. All right. So we'll get this scenario done. And from here, I don't know, close out the rest of the scenarios in the DLC. And I don't see any notes on the Dovetail website anywhere. I don't see any news indicating what the next DLC is or when it's coming. In fact, I can look that up right now. There is a mention of it I haven't seen yet. Moment. Seeing a couple things here. Nope. Nope, not seeing anything. Right. So, no idea what the next DLC will be or when it's coming. This one was, or the last DLC, I guess, for this was Northeast Corridor, and that was late. That was pushed back several times. So who knows? Yep, I'm gonna stick through it right till the very end. But I fully understand if you want to skip to the end, because I have a feeling it's going to be another 2.5 hours of this. And there's nothing wrong with this for me, but yeah, I don't know if it's your cup of tea. Ooh, hey, we get to accelerate. Not for a minute, though. Not for a minute. A little bit of vape. I'm curious, when we restarted, there were two things missing. One is this display right here, and the other is our guy. Where did our guy go? I don't know if that's a bug or if he just doesn't show up for the second. Like if you save when you come back, he just never shows up. Am I saying that right? Like, is he supposed to show up and he doesn't, or does he intentionally go away when you save and come back? No idea. Ah, suddenly foggy. Okay. off out here for me. Oh, there's my guy. You can see that. Now, here's a question. If we go here, we can see this guy. If we go over here. Nope, he's definitely gone. Okay, curious. Curious. I'm really looking forward to doing more of the services. And I guess what fascinates me about that is you jump in and jump out. And I'm sure by now somebody has posted online a schedule, like what the length of the services are or how it works. But I don't know if we did a service with a little freight train on Great Western, one of the little 66 freight locomotives. And when we got to the terminal at Reading, it just told us to jump out, you're done. And I don't know if you can then jump in that train and continue on from there. I mean, obviously you'd have to go back to the main menu and then continue the following service, I guess. Or if there's a way that you can just hop out and hop back in. Because I know when we hopped out of the train, it just took off. So it was continuing its service. So I'm thinking if you hopped out of the train and went to the main menu, you could choose the next service. Like essentially you look at the time, you're in Reading, it's 6:30 a.m. You look at the service schedule and see what's leaving Reading at 6:30, and you just hop back in that 66 locomotive and continue the freight service. Curious. These games, I don't know, the flow of these games, and I mean the actual gameplay, like the flow chart, when the developers map out what you're going to do and how and when. It fascinates me how that you then take that and translate it to code that represents the actual simulation. But how do they decide that? How do they decide, well, we'll have services, but they'll only continue from A to B, or will they continue from A to C, or however it works out, however they choose to lay the game out. Fascinating. Right. Yeah, man, I wish I had more interesting things to say, but I'm just mesmerized by this game, and I wouldn't say it's putting me to sleep, but it's definitely mellow. And I'm curious why this didn't begin or end in, well, yeah, begin or end in darkness, I guess would be the best way to say it. So that we'd have the transition of weather and also the transition from either dark to light or light to dark. And I haven't seen, I'm sort of looking forward to using the sander and seeing the wheel slip indicator. I haven't seen that yet. I thought when we were leaving the yard, I thought, oh, we have wheel slip, but I think it's just a long, heavy train, and I needed to give it a little more accelerator. Right. So okay. So now I'm looking at my HUD. We passed through a signal. It said X yards to 25 miles per hour, and it was counting down. Right? Or to 35 miles an hour. To a new speed limit. And when we crossed over, obviously it didn't change because the back of the train hasn't come through yet. But I'm curious now if the number we're looking at when that gets to 0, if it's going to jump to 30 miles per hour, and that would indicate that that is the back of the train. And I have no idea how you would do that in real life. I don't know whether there's some kind of GPS thing at this point to make that possible, or whether you do it with like a stopwatch. You know, if you pass the marker that says this, and you know your train is this long, then that means in this many seconds, right? You do a little algebra. I don't know. So, no, let's not go to 30. We'll have to wait till the end of the train clears that. But it looks like we're going back to 25 miles per hour anyway, so even if it does jump to 30, it's just going to jump right back to 25. Oh, this is mellow, man. This is real mellow. Like, this could not be more laid back. We're still climbing, but the grade is not as steep. So I'm wondering if we're about to crest and start descending. Noticed. So there's 2 AC units in here. Interesting. Okay. I'm still climbing. All right. My guess would be next DLC has to be somewhere in the mountains, either in Austria or Switzerland or the American West or Canada or somewhere. Gotta have some mountains. Because we've got a gigantic train on right now. To my understanding. I mean, I'm not a train expert by any means. But that looks like a pretty big train. And we're going up a hill in ice and snow. That's the name of the scenario. And we've really had no problem getting here at all. I don't know if it's going to get worse or how that works, but I'm feeling like we need maybe some bigger hills. So maybe that's the next DLC. No idea. Also curious why 3 fans are turning and 2 are not. We're doing a little better. The last train that we passed, just after we left the yard when we started this scenario, the last train that we passed, it just absolutely killed our frame rate. And we're doing a lot better this time. Curious what the difference is, or if there's any difference at all, and I'm just noticing it differently. And I think I might be, let me go back, right? We have to stand up to do this. Wiper front right. Doing anything? No. No, it's not. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but I'm looking for an excuse to use my wipers. They're like beacons. You just want to use them, or at least I do. But I thought there'd be more weather. We're coming up on the midway point, geographically and time-wise. Yep, that's about the midway. And I don't know, I'm not seeing the weather that they talked about, the bad conditions, and I'm not seeing really any difficulty in getting over this mountain. It's a little mountain. But you know what I mean. I feel like this is not what I was promised. Right. So we'll go about another 10 to 15 minutes. Look for a good place to end the episode. See if we get to a red signal or something to sort of put a capstone on the evening. Yeah, man, I have to say, I thought Train Sim was mellow. This is something else. This is next level. I also wonder, Yep, it's just 2 tracks all the way over to here. Right? Looks like there's a siding there. I think this goes to a coal mine. And then I want to say these two go to one is a coal mine and the other is not. Right. Yeah, this is an interesting sim. I feel it's really well executed, but it's one of those, I guess, you either get it or you don't kind of sims. And at this point, I can say that I like it, but I don't know that I really get it. I think you really need to be a train, like you really need to be into trains, and I feel like at that point it sort of clicks for you. But if you're not at that level, then it can still be fun, but it doesn't, like, just some of this technology, some of this equipment. I guess it would be the same as me and the race sims. You know, when I prowl around inside project cars and I see some of the classic cars and vintage cars, a set of Corsa, same thing. I haven't spent a lot of time in a race room or iRacing, but I imagine they're the same way. If you're a car guy or girl, you know, to have access to virtual versions, they're not the real thing, obviously, but to have access to those cars that we have been so enamored with for so many years is kind of magical. And I imagine if you're a train buff, this is a similar kind of thing. Hey, can we look in here? Is there anything under there? No, I just saw those. Wondered if we could look down in the floorboards. Just curious. So yeah, I imagine if you're a train buff, this is like, it's just magical. So my take would be, I like it, but I don't know if I'm appreciating it. I think that's a good way to say it. I'm enjoying it, but I don't know if I'm appreciating it. Not the way a real train expert would. Right. Go a little longer. It's difficult to decide when to cap it, because it's like I don't think anything's going to happen until we get to our destination. I was promised some weather, and I'm not seeing it. Just a little bit of fog, but no. There was snow on the ground when we left the yard. Pardon me, but I haven't really seen a lot since then. So what's back here? Platform lights off. Engine room lights off. Number lights rear on. Number lights front on. Fuel cup engine stop, right? Don't know what that does. Don't know what that does. Been in there. This one does not open. That one does not open. Yep. A tremendous amount of detail, which would make me think that these locomotives are extremely accurate. Why would you go to the trouble of creating all that detail randomly, right? If you're gonna go through the trouble, you're gonna make it based on something. Fascinating. Right. We do seem to be taking some miles off our getting closer to our destination. Seemed like the first episode we didn't really make any progress at all, and I would guess, based on the map, I would guess that it was because we were moving sort of sideways rather than we were perpendicular rather than, you know, the other one, parallel. Yeah, that's the fella. I'm loving the fog, but I want ice and snow, man. I was told there'd be ice and snow. Wheel slip? Anything? Huh. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so if we do that, okay, then that does come on, right? What those mean? That does. Okay. Don't know what those do. All right. I want to know these things, man. It's probably all in the manual. It's all in the tutorials. No, it's not. I take that back, because I've done the tutorials, and it doesn't cover. It covers the basic stuff. It does not cover everything. So it goes. It's still climbing. So if we, just trying to break this down, a little bit more than halfway there. So if we end it here, and then we'll cut the next one off in here somewhere. Not so much here, or here, but right about here. Okay, something to think about. We'll wait till we get to this 25 mile per hour sign. That'll be our end point for the episode. Yeah, man, absolutely hypnotic. But I don't know what it's like to watch. And I think, rather than doing all 4 of these in a row, I think what I might do is next Train Sim World episode, let's go back to the DLC. Mix it up a little bit. Instead of doing all 4 of these. Because that is, I mean, that's 3 hours in a row. Right, well, like all four episodes, not that anybody would watch all 4 episodes, but all 4 episodes, that's 3 hours in a row of just this. And it's fascinating. It really is fascinating to me, but this is pretty slow, I must admit. Right, there's our marker, there's our sign. I'm going to hop out here. I'm going to save. Game has been saved. Quit the main menu. Yes. Folks, thank you so much for stopping back to join the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Train Sim World CSX Heavy Haul. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.